I'm delighted to introduce our next keynote speaker. He is a young talent that really knows no bounds when it comes to the ways that he showcases his creativity for inspiration. He is an illustrator, a designer, a photographer, a videographer, and he will really just inspire all the energy within you. So please welcome to the stage, Jordan Nicholson.
Hey, I'm Jordan. I'm really excited to be here at the 10th year of the Seattle Interactive Conference. Thanks for having me. Just to introduce myself, I'm a photographer, I'm a videographer, designer, DJ. I do a lot of different things and have kind of been on a creative journey for over a decade now. I've been working full-time freelance for the last 5-6 years, and in that career, in that journey, I think I've gotten to do a lot of really cool things. Work with some pretty big brands. I've worked with Nike, Adidas, Red Bull, Live Nation. I just did a project with the Seahawks this past week. I've flown around the world for all kinds of different shoots. Went on tour all across the States. Been on magazines, been on TV. Was in like a viral video that has like 4 million views. I think I've had just a lot of really cool opportunities over the years, and it's I think that a lot of people, when they're kind of getting into their creative journey, that I've gotten to experience things that a lot of people probably aspire to experience. And so, in this creative journey, in getting to this, level of success that I've found, I've discovered maybe 4 principles, I think, that have kind of been guiding guiding philosophies or guiding ideas that have really just informed where I'm at. And so I wanted to share those with you. So the first point that I want to share with you guys is just how important it is to work at your craft. It doesn't matter what you're into, what you're pursuing. It's crucial that you put in as many hours as you can. Put in 10,000 hours at the thing that you're trying to get good at. And there's no shortcut to that. You kind of just have to put in that time and get the experience. I've been shooting. I took my first photography class 15 years ago at this point, and pretty much since that time, even a little bit before that, I've been out there shooting every day. And even before that, I've been I was drawing ever since I was a kid. So it's just you have to become completely absorbed in the thing that you're trying to get good at. And for me, when I was first getting into photography, I was on online forums looking at other people's photography. I was asking questions about what, and this is to strangers on the internet. I'm just hey, how did you light this? What are the settings? I don't even think, YouTube wasn't even a thing yet, but I was finding whatever resource I could to just try to learn this new interesting thing that I really like. And at that time, I didn't even know that becoming a professional photographer was an option. I genuinely just loved this thing, and I wanted to get as good at it as possible. And I think another thing that's really important is staying inspired. And for me, that looks like just taking in tons of images, tons of content, just to constantly be getting ideas and sort of staying on top of sort of this artistic conversation that's constantly happening. You know, I want to know what people in the world are doing in photography and how I can incorporate those things into what I'm doing in my day-to-day. And yeah, you know, and that's something that I've done pretty much since I started. And it's something I do today. And so like, it's just part of my process. And so yeah, I think it's just so important that you put in your hours, take in as much as you can, and just, yeah, work at your craft. Yeah, so the second thing that I want to share with you is just how important it is to put yourself out there. Take those chances. Go do anything at all. You know, for me, I think I realized that the world, when you start out, it doesn't, you know, the world doesn't know that you exist. So it's sort of like, what can you do about that? And for me, just being someone who was into sneakers, fashion, music, art, I was constantly going to different events. You know, this is when I was still in high school till now. It's going to concerts, it's going to art shows, it's just wherever people are gathering, I was probably there. And so for me, in doing that, I always had my camera. I would go to these places and I'd be shooting, most of the times for fun, you know, just because that's what I like to do. But I was always just making art at these different places. And I think that what doing that did is it made me just such a familiar face to people, and a familiar face that they associated with photography and with art. So, you know, when someone or an opportunity pops up for someone and they need a photographer, I think they ended up thinking of me because they were probably at 2 or 3 events the week before and I had my camera with me. So it's just, that's how synonymous with your craft you want to become, is you're the first person that people think of. And, you know, what I've found, and I think is really cool, is that kind of pursuing all these different communities that I was active in, I kind of had like, almost like coincidental, serendipitous opportunities happen. Like when I was hanging out or I was going places, I didn't necessarily think of it as networking. And yet, you know, I had a friend who I went to college with and we got involved in the Filipino club at the same time, you know? Like, which for me, I was just like, man, I want to go be around people, so I'm gonna go hang out at the Filipino club. But after we graduated, she moved back to LA. She ended up working at Live Nation. And so, you know, at some point, they're like, oh, we need a photographer to shoot Sasquatch. And she's basically like, well, I have a friend in Seattle that shoots tons of concerts. We should get him. And so, you know, once I did that, or what do you call? Long story short, I ended up shooting Sasquatch for them, and it started me shooting all these shows and concerts for Live Nation. And, you know, and now my photos have been like all over the internet because of that. And it all happened because I went to a Filipino club. So it's like, go be a familiar face in the communities that you're around. You really never know what's gonna come for it. You're basically becoming a familiar face. You're basically just casting this net of possibility. And when you do that, I think amazing things can happen. And then, so the third thing that I really wanna say is just be yourself. Be a good person. It's going to make all the difference in your creative journey, you know. And so I say, like, be yourself. And when I say that, like, I really mean be your unique self. Be your one-of-a-kind self. I firmly believe that every one of us has some unique person that they were kind of destined or meant to be. And you have to like live life and do soul search and do it whatever you need to kind of figure out who you are and what you want to say in this world. And I feel like if you don't do that, you're probably just going to be copying, you know, the things that you see. But that's not who you want to be. You want to be someone who has something that they want to say, something they want to say with conviction. You want to have purpose. And so you really just have to find yourself. And, you know, I think in doing that, it's beneficial in your work and everything that you do, because it sets you apart. You know, I think for me, you know, I was born a little different. I have a disability, but, you know, which I think when you're young, maybe you think, oh man, this is going to be sort of a bad thing for me. But as I've come to learn is that it's kind of been one of my greatest assets. You know, it shaped my perspective. I think that people meet me and almost instantly they remember me for the rest of their life. And so I think that that's the kind of person you want to be, is just someone who's so themselves, someone who's so uniquely them that you can't help but stand out from everyone else. And, you know, and the other thing that, you know, I really wanted to say is that it's like, you want to become the best version of yourself. You want to be just a good human being. Like, I think that that's sort of I don't know. People don't put enough emphasis on being a good person enough. Because I think that when you're a good person, it's like you just automatically become someone that everybody wants to support and root for and lend a hand, you know. And I think that as much as I've spent time working on my craft, working on my career, I've spent maybe twice as much time just trying to become the best version of myself as possible. And what do you call, you know, I think for me, it's like being an artist or a creative isn't my entire identity. It's like, I'm a human being and I make art, and you want to be a human who has a craft. So if you do those things, I think you're going to be the kind of person that will ultimately be successful, both just on a spiritual, human level, and also in the work that you do. So yeah, be a good person and be you. Be your one-of-a-kind self.